everyone, this is Derek. Today I am talking about a game that I've been looking forward to for a long time. It's a game in a series that I absolutely adore, and that is Danganronpa, Another Episode, Ultra Despair Girls. Now this game is an offshoot of the Danganronpa series. The Danganronpa games are sort of visual novel style games with adventure game elements and mini games, and this game is actually a third-person shooter. Now I have to admit, when I first heard about this, I was a little bit skeptical about how it was going to actually work. I basically expected it to be something like Gears of War with a Monokuma skin on it. But this game actually works really well in the Danganronpa universe, and it really does feel like a Danganronpa game in the tone, in the feel, in the storyline, and all that stuff, even though the gameplay itself is different. So it's one that I absolutely had a blast with. I really loved this game. I think it's a fantastic addition to the series, and I really would recommend it to anyone that likes the Danganronpa series. Now, one thing I want to say out of the gate, though, to kind of give a little disclaimer, I won't spoil any of the aspects of this game in this review. However, this game does take place after the events of the first Danganronpa game, and I don't really know how I'm going to be able to talk about some of those aspects of this game without spoiling parts of the first game. So that's my little disclaimer. If you have not played the first Danganronpa game, I really would recommend that you play that before you watch this video, because I think that there's just no way for me to talk about this game without spoiling something from the first game. Actually, probably a couple of really big spoilers from the first game. So just to be aware of that, if you are interested in the first game, you can watch my Danganronpa 2 review, because I talk about some of the gameplay elements in that without spoiling the first game. But this one, I just don't think there's any way to do it. So with this game, you actually play as Komaru Naegi, who is the little sister of Makoto Naegi, who was the protagonist from the first Danganronpa game. When the incident, the tragedy, took place, Komaru was stuck inside an apartment. She's been stuck in there for a year and a half, and she's had no contact with the outside world other than someone bringing her food every day, and has no idea what's been going on. When the game starts, she gets attacked by a Monokuma robot and is then rescued by Byakuya Togami from the first game. He gives her this special gun that's designed to attack the Monokumas and tells her to run. And in the process, Byakuya gets captured. So there are a lot of series events that happen, and what ends up sort of where the game proper, I guess, begins, is you get captured as well by these 5 kids. And these are the 5 kids are the ones who are controlling the Monokumas. And these are guys probably late elementary school, maybe early junior high, somewhere in that age range. And these kids are, first of all, one of the best parts of this game, probably are the best part. Those kids are just some of the most interesting characters, and some of the most exciting moments in this game come from them. But we'll kind of get into that when we talk a little bit later about some of the darker aspects of the story. But they have captured you and are basically playing a game where they want to see which one of them can kill you first. So it's sort of what is that old movie, The Greatest Hunt, or The Most Dangerous Game, I think is what it is. It's basically kind of something like that. These 5 kids have basically lost their minds and decided that all adults are evil, and all adults need to die. So in addition to The Most Dangerous Game, it's also got a little Children of the Corn sort of flavor in there as well. And these kids have killed their parents. They are going through this town trying to kill every adult there is, and all of the other kids are on their side. And so the game is honestly just one of the darkest games I think I've ever played, and has some of the most disturbing imagery in this game. I mean, these are kids, again, 11, 12 years old maybe, something like that, who are just playing with, or killing people, playing with dead bodies like they're toys, torturing people while their loved ones watch. I mean, these children are completely beyond sanity. I mean, they have completely lost it, but yet they're also still children and very childlike in the way that they talk and the way that they look at things, and it's just this amazing juxtaposition, which is one of the things, again, that, going back to how I feel this game fits into the Danganronpa universe. The first couple of Danganronpa games were like that as well. You would have this wonderful juxtaposition of the horrific with the comedic, and lighthearted and silly with something gruesome and terrifying. And this game fits that. It gets that perfectly. And in some ways better, I think, than maybe some of the other games, because, again, I think because of the age, because the kids are just so young and are just so disturbing and just so creepy. Definitely my favorite part of the game were the antagonists. But they decided they want to have this contest to see who can kill you first. They dump you in the middle of the city, and you're basically trying to figure out how to get out or how to stop them. Along the way, you meet up with Toko Fukawa, who is also from the first game. She's in the city trying to rescue Byakuya, because of course she's obsessed with him. And she teams up with you to achieve her aim. Her goal is as well as try to help you get out of the city. And the gameplay is, like I said, it's a third-person shooter for the most part. And it kind of uses the Resident Evil 4 style of gameplay or interface. So whenever you hold the left shoulder button, you'll get sort of an over-the-shoulder view where you have a laser pointer coming out at the end of your gun where you can use to aim your shots. Kind of like Resident Evil 4 did. Although in this game you can move while you're aiming, which is way better than what Resident Evil 4 did, at least on the original one on the GameCube. I don't know if they ever changed that on some of the subsequent releases, but that was always really tricky that you couldn't move and aim at your gun at the same time. In this game you can, so the controls are a little bit better than that, but you can definitely tell that they are inspired by that game. And so, like Resident Evil 4, and this game relies a little bit more on strategically placing your shots, because it's a little bit more slow-paced as far as the way you aim your gun and the way you pull up. It's a little bit more deliberate. And so you are going to want to try to aim your shots pretty well, because the Monokumas can take a lot of hits, but if you hit them in the red eye, then they go down in one hit, and in addition to that, they also will charge up. That charges up your next shot, so that no matter where you hit the next Monokuma, it'll take them down in one shot. So there's a lot of really kind of planning out your shots and trying to be a little bit slower and a little bit more deliberate with it. In addition to just the regular shot, you also have a lot of extra ammunition that does different things. And that's where a lot of the fun of the gameplay comes, in how you decide to take down the enemies, because you have a lot of different options. You have bullets that will cause the Monokumas to dance in place, and they'll just dance and then they won't come after you anymore, so you can kind of shoot them and set them aside for a little bit. You have ones that actually let you take control of one of the Monokumas. You have other ones that just knock back without doing a lot of damage but gets them out of your way. So depending on how you plan out your moves and your shots, encounters can be easy or difficult depending on what you do, and depending on how accurate you are with your gun. So again, even though it is a third-person shooter, it doesn't really play like Gears of War with a Monokuma skin. It's got a little bit more of a strategy to it, and the enemy encounters are kind of spread out, and also a lot of them tend to kind of fall into, like I mentioned, if you know how to do it, or the way that you plan your attacks, can matter a little bit more than just being, just pumping them full of lead. So it's a little bit different in that respect, but I think it works really well, and I think it actually makes a lot of fun. A lot of people have said that they didn't like the gameplay. I've heard some reviewers say that. I'm not really sure why, although if you're going into it expecting something more like with the control scheme of a Call of Duty or Gears of War or whatever, that's a little bit more refined or more action-oriented, I shouldn't say refined, more action-oriented than this kind of approach, yeah, you might not have a good time with it, but if you kind of go in knowing what to expect, I think you'll have a good time. I certainly did. I had a lot of fun with it. In addition to your shots, you also can, at any time, switch over to Toko. Now, Toko fights in a completely different way. She takes on her Genocide Jack persona and does melee combat. So she, attacks with her scissors and jumps and dodges and does all these different melee things. The thing that's interesting about Toko, she does not take damage at all. So you can use her and you're pretty much invincible. She also is pretty powerful. The problem is you can only use her for a certain amount of time. So as you are playing, you have a little meter that's going to run down, and you really want to save Toko for those moments where you really are stuck and you're kind of surrounded, you need to get out of that situation. You can switch to her and it keeps you from taking any damage and you can go through. But it is kind of also nice just to have something different, different way to play, because the melee and the shooting are very different. Although I did find myself not really using Toko all that much, I think because I kept trying to save her for a moment that was where I desperately needed her, and a lot of those didn't really come. Most of the time I was able to get through the combat just fine, at least on the normal difficulty setting. Maybe on harder you might be relying on her a little bit more often. So I guess kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about a lot with this game, though, does have to do with the story. And I kind of mentioned this a little bit before with the kids and the way that they are presented. But again, I feel like this is probably one of the darkest and most horrifying games I've ever played. I mean, there are moments in this game that I will never forget. Ones where I just like jaw dropped and eyes as big as saucers because I was just shocked at what I was seeing on screen. I think one of the things that's interesting, when the first Danganronpa game came out, I was kind of bothered by the color of the blood. It's a sort of bright fluorescent pink color. And it always bothered me because I felt like that was not, it just took away from the realism of the story. After playing this one, and after giving some thought to it on the first one as well, I think there might be a reason for that, in addition to just, I'm sure there's probably some censorship reasons, because I know the Japanese market's a little more sensitive to that. But I think it also does help soften the blow on some of these things, because you can take these truly horrific things, truly frightening things, and that pink blood sort of adds the sheen of unrealism or whatever you want to call it over that, which I think really does help, because it lets you process that a little bit without just like not being able to sleep at night. So I think that actually kind of works well. Of course, now it's sort of a hallmark of the series. It's, you know, it's I don't think I could ever go away from it because it's become so iconic when thinking about the series. But I think it actually does help. I think they can get away with a lot more because of that, because of the way that plays out. In addition, though, like I think a lot of the exciting part of the story does come from the characters, Toko and Komaru as well. They've got a really interesting relationship. It's a lot of kind of, I'm stuck with you, so I have to work with you, and then maybe we start to kind of get to know each other a little better. And both of them have some nice story arcs and some character arcs. They both grow as a result of working together and being in this situation. The other thing that's really nice about this game, too, is you will meet a lot of people who are related, in addition to Komaru, other people who are related to characters from the first Danganronpa game. So it really is a kind of, and there are some very poignant moments to that when you go through and some of the characters that are no longer with us, and here you are meeting one of their relatives, and they don't know that. You know, they've been looking for their relative, and you know, especially Toko knows what happened. And it's it can be very poignant, especially if you had a good connection to a lot of the characters in the first Danganronpa game. And I think that it really does serve as giving not so much closure, but just kind of I don't know. It just makes it all feel a little bit more real, because now you're seeing not only the events of that first game, but also how it's affecting the people around them that you didn't get to see in either the first Danganronpa game or the second Danganronpa game. So I think that approach was really well done. And it's not over, you know, it's not heavy-handed about it. There, you know, you're a couple of them that you see, and it's not something that's shoved in your face, but it's still something that adds that little bit to the people who have played, you know, for the people who have played the first game, and really does mean a lot. Especially like if you're like me and you love the first game. So, so overall, I absolutely recommend this game. I think, you know, if you like the first Danganronpa game, even though it's a genre change, don't let that scare you away. Go ahead and jump into this one. I mean, I played it on the normal setting, and I thought it wasn't too difficult. And I don't play a ton of shooters. I do play some, but even if you're are a little more novice than I am, you can also play. There's an easier difficulty setting, and I think it's worth it for the story. And I really had a fantastic time with it. I liked the combat. I liked the story. I think that overall it's a great addition. Again, I'm glad they didn't call it Danganronpa 3. I wouldn't want the whole series to take this genre shift. But I think that as a spin-off, it works beautifully. So definitely, if you like the first couple games, pick it up. If you haven't played the first game and you've watched this review, unfortunately, I'm sorry, some things have been spoiled for you. But I really would recommend that, because even though you can appreciate and enjoy this on its own, it really is designed to be sort of a counterpart to the main series. So I really think that you'll get a much better experience with it if you play the other games, at least the first game. You not necessarily have to play the second game, because there really isn't, you know, that one takes place after the events of this game, so you're okay with that. But I do think that you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't play the first game before you check this one out. So that's it, and I really appreciate you guys listening to this and watching, and I really hope that more people check this game out. It's been getting sort of mixed reviews, which really makes me sad, because I'm worried that people won't reach out and try this game when they really should, because it's a phenomenal game. All right, well, thanks so much as always for watching.